Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let me make sure I'm getting us shared over there. Um, Welcome and happy Friday. Let me know if you're joining me so I can say hello to you. And I've got some fun stuff for us to do today. Okay, I see it. So let's see if we can start getting it shared. So I'm going to send this over into our Welcome Home workshop and our creative hearts. Where are we? There we are. Okay. Hello and welcome. Y'all let me know as you come in. Let me know you're here. And just trying to make sure I've got everything turned off and on and all the different things that we need to do. All right. Let's see. Okay, so today is Friday, and welcome to my studio for Lunch and Learn Painting. And this is where we gather on most Fridays and just talk about painting techniques. I was super excited to see your name pop up, Tanya. That tickled me that you won. So we are in the middle of the Welcome Home workshop. And so for those of you who are doing the workshop with me, I would love for you to let me know. Put some sort of little emoji in there and let me know that you're doing the workshop with me. Hello, Christine. I'm glad to see you here. So we are painting last night in the workshop. Tracy, let me back up. I'm always jumping ahead. So we have this cute flag that Tracy designed. She and her husband Rob designed it, and I already have paint on this side of it. Oh, but so what we wanted to do is do a workshop because she does DTFs, and I've never done that, and I want to learn how to do it, and then if y'all know me, you know I like to paint. And so I'm teaching her some of my painting techniques. We're turning it into a workshop and with the goal of teaching you some new techniques, but also creating some fun and beautiful home decor for your front door or for your front porch or your entryway. There's so many places that you can just add a little touch of pretty, and it just feels good when you come home and there on your front door is a big sign that says hello. And I actually made this with the help of Terry last night while we were doing the workshop. And then this is the side that I started last night. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to see names popping up. So Tracy taught this side. I'm teaching the flag side. And so last night I taught how to do these stripes. And that brought up some really great questions. So I thought, well, while I'm doing my lunch and learn, we could talk more about stripes. I don't know about y'all, but I love stripes. Do y'all? I love stripes and I love polka dots. I'm always drawn to fabric with stripes or polka dots or both, paint, all the things. I just love it. So thought we'd spend a little bit of time and let me show you a few things about painting stripes, because there's other places you could paint stripes other than or in addition to a patriotic design like a flag. So in our Creative Heart Studio, this is another fun thing, fun little thing about this is Tracy's design, and it coordinates with her club's design for this month. My side coordinates with my Creative Hearts projects for this month. And I love when things coordinate. I love that. And many of you already know this, that I license my artwork, and you can find some of my artwork in Hobby Lobby, sometimes in Kirkland's. And I've just learned to create in collections and having things coordinate so it looks cohesive. And you don't really have to do a lot to make an impact or pack a punch with whatever you've created. So Sandy's a stripe and polka dot person too. I'm not surprised. I think we have a lot in common. Sandy, I see both Sandys. So we've got Sandy with an IE and Sandy with a Y. Sandy Causey is in Las Vegas. Sandy, is it Brentlinger? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Remind me where you live. Are you out west also? I can't remember. Hey, Debbie, I'm glad to see you coming in, and Cindy. All right, I see Diane. So here's what I wanted to do is I put a link in here. Kentucky. In Kentucky. Welcome. I'm in Alabama. So y'all, I put a link. If you have not joined us over in the Welcome Home workshop, it's up there at the top of the comments, and you can still sign up. It's free. And you missed last night, but we have the replay, and then we've got another session tonight. So let's talk about stripes. So here's what to keep in mind. There's several things to keep in mind. Your surface matters, and the paintbrush that you use. Your surface matters because and I'll show you this in just a moment, if you are painting stripes on paper, the paper's absorbent, and so it's going to have a different effect than if you're painting on smooth wood, which is what we were painting on last night. And so if you look close at that, I was able to use a paintbrush. And where's that paintbrush? I think I used this one. I was using a flat paintbrush. And for those who are new to me and you feel overwhelmed by paintbrushes, I have it's a small course. It's called Brushes and Brushstrokes. And I go to Michael's and I buy a bunch of brushes, and then I tell you how they work. Because depending on the brush you use, it makes a difference on the effect you will get. This one, I'm trying to get it, it's backwards. There it is. See that rounded tip? This is my friend Filbert. And I love to use this paintbrush for flowers and leaves. But I could even paint a stripe with this paintbrush. It is a very versatile paintbrush. All right, here's another one, and I think I used it last night. Hang on, let me get this. Sherry Hooper made these for me and sent them to me in some Happy Mail. So I've enjoyed using those. This one, can y'all see that one? That one's called, let me put it right here. This one is called an angle brush. It is also very versatile. You could paint stripes with this paintbrush, and it is so versatile. You could even paint a very thin stripe with that brush. So we've got a flat brush, we've got the angle brush, and we have a filbert that you could use to paint stripes. You may or may not know this about me, but I've been painting for a very long time, and I used to paint furniture. I actually would paint furniture. I've painted floors. I've painted countertops, walls, of course, inside and outside. I've just painted on all kinds of surfaces. And one of my favorite things is furniture. And because I love stripes and I love polka dots, I would freehand my stripes. And I used to say the Lord would make it all work out, because it doesn't make much sense how it worked out, but other than it worked out. And so I'm going to show y'all a few of those tips. Hey, Destiny. All right. So the only paintbrush that I probably won't use for this is a round paintbrush, and I don't see one handy anyway. Hang on. Here's one. I will use this one tonight. I always get backwards. This is called a round, and it's got a rounded tip, and you can get these with a thick tip or a fine tip. I'm going to use this one tonight when we paint the watercolor part of our flag. I could use this for painting the thin stripes, but I'm just going to show you that we can use these brushes here for these stripes. Okay, so another thing that I'm going to use, and I showed the ladies this last night, is this ruler. It's a ruler. It's got the measurements on there, but it's flexible. Look at that. See how flexible it is? This is a very handy tool. So I had lost this one. I've had it for years and years and years. I used to use it for personalizing. I misplaced it, so I bought another one. You can find these. I know you can find them at Hobby Lobby, close to where in the art supplies, like where you might see the drafting rulers and stuff like that. That's where I found this. I'm sure you could find them on Amazon, but I use this in lettering, and look how you can shape it and you could trace it. But I'm going to show you how I was able to come up with the stripes for this specific flag. Now, curves and sewing, and I wonder if it's a sewing. Ruler, Sandy. Is there another name for it? I don't remember. One thing I forgot to do is I forgot my wood piece, so I need to grab it real quick because I painted a couple of different wood pieces for us to practice with. So y'all don't go anywhere. I'm going to grab it right here. All right. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I've got 2 pieces of wood. This is one of those little squares that I got from Michael's in a little set. These are awesome. And then this is a square that we sell with our kits, and a lot of times we'll put things on them, we'll paint on them, we'll put printables on there. Lots you can do with these. But what I want to do is kind of give you a little extra steps or tutorial, I guess, for painting stripes like this. So one of the things, we've got a kit, like this wood piece comes in the kit. But some of the ladies didn't have a kit, and we're needing a little bit more information about the stripes. We also ran into a little thing about printing the stripes. I mean, it was all kinds of things. But that's okay because we're working through it. And with art, there's always a workaround. Always. Isn't that right? Hey, Amanda. Okay, so one thing I want to show you about this wood. So once I painted this, it feels a little bit rough. This one feels a lot more rough. And I want to show you a simple thing that you could do with brown paper sack. You could use possibly even an envelope. Let's see if even this would work. You could use sanding paper, but it's not really necessary. We just need to rub it down enough to get it smooth. So I'm just going to rub over it like this. Now the sign from Tracy and Rob, it was not like that. This particular wood here is rougher. So that's why I'm doing this. And I don't know if Marla's watching or not. She had asked me if we were going to need to sand it. And I said no, but that was because that wood was so smooth. Okay, so look what I just did. I just smoothed it down. And the reason I did that, you don't always have to do this, but the reason I did it, I want to show you how easy it is to paint stripes onto things, especially if it's a smoother surface. Your paintbrush will just glide across it. This one was super smooth whenever I purchased it, but once I painted it, it's got a little bit of roughness to it, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just smoothing it down. So some of that came off onto my thing. Usually I use a paper sack for this, but I didn't want to have to leave again since it's already left to go outside to get the thing. So I just grabbed what I had. A piece of cardstock would probably also work for this. And I really took a chance using this color because it could have shed onto my white, but it didn't. So I took a chance on that. All right, so now I feel better about it being smooth. So here's what I want to show you. Where's my regular ruler? All right, so this square piece is 6 inches by 6 inches. So the center of this would be 3. This one is 5 inches by 5 inches. So let me show you what I would do. Let me swap cameras. Okay, that looks a little bit dark, doesn't it? Can y'all see that okay? It just seems like it's dark. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. I just lost my, there it is. Oh my goodness. This is my big one. So the part that was a little bit tricky about this is this curve. You can absolutely sketch this out with a pencil. You could also use chalk. You could just sketch it out, but here's how this little ruler came in handy. Okay, so let me move this over a little bit. So Sandy's saying that she gets hers in the notions department. Move that so you can see. So basically what I did to get this curve is I just formed it to this right here, like that. Do you see that? And that has that curve now. Then what I did is I pulled it down and I traced it. Pulled it down, traced it. Pulled it down, pulled it down, pulled it down, pulled it down, all the way down. That's how I did it. And you can just lightly trace it with a pencil, or you could lightly trace it with a piece of chalk. The key word in all of that is lightly, because when you, if you're heavy-footed or heavy-handed, you can dig into this wood and almost like engrave into it. And it's really hard to cover it up if you do that. So you just want to lightly trace it. So the next thing was how did I know where to start? So let me grab my thing. This is going to be my little watercolor piece that's going to go up here like that. So what I basically did is I kind of drew a little square there, and I just started at the top. But if you notice on this one, it's thinner and it gradually gets larger. This one is more consistent all the way across. So here's the other little trick. Having a ruler that is clear. I don't think I used this ruler because these stripes are bigger. I have a larger ruler, so you could measure it and get your thickness. Okay, say I like this thickness. Or you could say, okay, I want these to be 1.5 inches. So I'm going to come here, draw it off, then I'm going to measure down 1.5 inches and do the next one. It's that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. So especially with this design, in my imagination, this is an old flag and it looks like it's blowing in the wind. If it were blowing in the wind, these stripes would not be proportional the way you would see them. There would be some parts that are wavy and some parts folded. So we're not going to overanalyze this. We're just going to, don't overthink it. If you're like me, I'm really good at overthinking things. All right, so here's my little trick, I guess you could say. Let's say I want, so this is 6. Yeah, this one's 6. I'm going to find the center. That's 3. And I'm going to find the center right there. So y'all, most of the time, whenever you're working on something, especially with furniture, I would, like if I was going to paint a dresser, a chest of drawers, just say that, and just say this is the front of my chest of drawers. Can y'all even see that on that background? Let me get a piece of paper. let's do it on this so you can see it. Just feels like it's a lot of white right there. Now, okay, so we're going to pretend like this is the chest of drawers. And these are drawers going across. So my first thing I would do is I would find the center. Then I would decide how wide do I want my stripes. So I don't think that these stripes need to be very wide or I won't have room. So just say I want my stripes to be 1 inch wide. So now I'm going to find the center of that 1 inch mark. It's going to be right there at the 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little tick mark there and there. And there's my first stripe. Y'all see that? Now I'm going to look at my paintbrushes and what paintbrush do I have? Look at there. That one, look at the width. Often I decided the width of my paintbrush was determined by the size of my paint brushes because I knew I just wanted to do one little swoop down. I wanted a really translucent stripe. Now you could absolutely paint this with a smaller brush and you're going to have a lot of strokes, but to get the best stripe, I have found it's better to try and do just smooth little strokes going down. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Almost skipped ahead. Hang on. So for this one, it's going to be red and white striped. For those of you who were with me last night, look at there, almost made a mess. We did our shading on the white stripes first. Do y'all remember why? Okay. All right. So now I've got my 1 inch mark there. So that means at the 2, I'm going to have another mark. At the 3, I'll have another mark. All right. So now I'm going to go, that's that mark. I'm going to do 1, 2. So look how this plays out. This one is going to be an inch. This will be an inch. That will be an inch, but that won't be. That will be an inch. That will be an inch, but that won't be. And I like for it to be like that because it doesn't look so perfect. You don't have to do it that way, but that's the way I like it. All right, so just so I don't get confused, I'm going to say the center stripe is going to be red. That means this one's going to be white. This one's going to be red. This one's white. That one's red. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just sketch these out. If you got the kit, I'm talking to the ladies from the workshop, you received a traceable, a design traceable with them already sketched out for you. You could use that. We also included a digital download, and I know that some people had trouble with their printer printing it out. That flag is like 18 inches. So you have to basically print it out. Tiled is one of the word. Poster is another word that to look for with your settings, but it prints it onto 4 different sheets of paper. Okay, so now I've got my little sketch. Do y'all see that? So I'm going to do one that's straight, and then we're going to do a curved stripe on this one. All right, so I've got my marks. The middle is red. These are white. So what I was showing them last night is if you can go ahead and put down your shading for the white, do that first. You're going to get better results. All right, so remember, this is my paintbrush to do the red stripe because I just want to fill that in completely. The white stripe, however, is going to have some shading on it. So I don't want to fill up that entire white stripe. Let me see if this brush will work. Yeah, this will give me some shading right here. So I'm going to use this brush. So this brush is, what size is this? It says it's a number 8 flat. Okay. So what I'm doing is I've got some of my beige. It's just an off-white. And I'm going to turn it this way. Can y'all see that? Let me zoom this down a little bit. Is that better? Okay. So this is the red. So what I'm going to do is up under the red stripe, I'm just going to do a stripe of that beige color. And I can flip my paintbrush over. I'm just smoothing it out. You see that? That's just going to be our shadow. That still leaves a little bit of white there, and that's okay. So I'm going to get a little bit more of that off-white paint, and I'm looking for my red stripe. This is my red. So I'm going to go right below the red stripe. I didn't have enough paint on my brush. So be thinking about what kind of things could you paint stripes onto. Okay, so there's my second one that's got the shading. So now that leaves the two skinny ones. And I'm just going to do it right below. So just say you wanted to do, this is a square. You could do a rectangle. You could add stripes to a circle. Lots of places to add stripes to. All right, so if I were to fill this up completely with this off-white, then it doesn't have the shading anymore. This is kind of like we're doing this, not backwards, but we're building on it. So this is going to be the highlight, this is going to be the shading, and it's going to stand out more once we get the red on there. So this is wood, and I can tell that it's absorbing that paint, but I would like to go ahead and add my red, but I have to be careful because if the red touches that oyster beige, I'm going to get a variation of pink, and it's kind of hard to get it cleaned up once it does that. You can, it just takes a little bit of time. Okay, so I'm going to use this bright red. You just need a basic red, and then you're also going to need a dark red. So if you've been painting with me, you know that we usually look at colors and look for the basic color and then a dark or a light variation of it. All right, so now I'm going to take that wider paintbrush, the number one, where is that brush? Here it is. Here it is. It's okay. This is the number 12, and this is the one that's 1 inch wide. I just want you to see what happens whenever you've got a smooth surface. See if that's gonna. Okay, that was as close as I could get. Okay. All right, can y'all tell me if you can see that okay? Or if you have questions. All right, so I'm adding some water to my brush. I zoomed it in and now you can't see the paint. Let's see here. Now then. All right, so I added water to my brush and I'm pulling off some of the red paint and making it thin, kind of like ink. And so now I'm going to start up here on this red, and I'm going to try really hard to not touch the wet oyster beige. And I probably should have erased that R. Can you see it? The R is there. So I'll go down here and erase the R in just a second on the others. All right, so I've just got a really thin stripe. Can y'all see that? Now it starts like, okay, that's what we're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to find my eraser. And when we paint thin like this, not only do you not want to dig into the wood, you don't really want to have dark marks. And I didn't practice what I preach. Whoops, look what I just did. See how that's starting to run? All you have to do is take your paper towel and just blot it. And we'll clean that up. But that's just a good example of how you really have to, it's best to let it dry or it's going to run, but we'll clean it up. All right, so now we're down to this red one. So what I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm pulling off. I've got a wet paintbrush. I'm pulling off some of the red. I've got it on my brush. It's not a lot. It's just about the consistency of ink. And I'm just going to put my hand right here to stabilize myself. And then I'm just going to go across. Okay. Is it a perfect stripe? No, but that's okay. Okay. Now I'll turn, and always feel free to move your stuff around to make it easier on your hand and your arms and all the different body parts that you have to have when you're painting. Move stuff around if you need to. So all I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to cover up that dark mark that I failed to erase before I started painting. So there's the second red stripe. All right. Does anybody have questions? If you're here, let me know you're here. I don't see any coming up, so maybe I'm good. All right, so I'm going to get a little bit more bright red. And same thing, I'm going to add a little bit of water, pull off some of that paint, add a little bit of water, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start right here. See the angle that I have my brush? And I'm just going to pull it across. So if you could see this at a side view, this hand is resting lightly on the table and I'm pulling it across. If your hands are a little bit shaky, you can still do this. Find a way to rest your hands to steady yourself. I wished you could see it. All right, let me hold it. All right, this is the edge of my table and my arm is resting on that. That's how I'm doing mine. Then right here, I've got another resting point right here. Thank y'all for confirming. It was so quiet. I just, you never know what's going to happen in the internet world. Okay, so there I have those 3 red stripes, and the wood is absorbing it, isn't it? And it's going to make a really cool effect. All right, so I've still got a little bit of red paint on my brush, so I'm just going to wipe it back across there and here like that. Just going to wipe it a little bit. All right, so now the next color that we want to get is that darker red. Thank you for sharing, Roseanne. Thank you. It really does help when y'all sprinkle it out. This is called Moroccan red. I don't remember who it was. You may not be able to, all the stores are different. You may not find the same paint that I have, but I try and show you what to look for. So I always find the red, the basic red that I like. Then I look for a darker version of it. I think burgundy. I don't remember if it was holly. I'm getting all my names mixed up, but burgundy is a color that worked well. So now I'm going to do the same thing, y'all. I'm putting water in my brush. Now I'm going to pull out that darker red. And this is where I'm going to kind of clean up my line a little bit. So remember how I said turn it however you need to. And you'll have to turn it so that your arm is not in that red paint. Or you could use a dryer or a heat gun, to dry it quicker. So now look at the angle I'm holding my brush. Now I'm using a different part of the bristles. And they are what's helping me. So I'm taking it on the ends. taking it here, pulling it out. I don't think I got enough of the dark. So if you didn't have a darker red, you could add just a smidgen of brown or a smidgen of green. Green will darken up red because green is the opposite. You could add a little bit of purple. A dark purple would probably also darken it a little bit. So I'm just using this now to get my thin line for the shading. Are you starting to see it take shape now? So this is brighter. There's no shading. This one has the shading at the top and the bottom of that stripe. So I'm going to add a little bit of water, and I'm just going to go across, trying to keep it steady, knowing that I might go out of lines, and if I do, I'll just try and clean it up a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to go to the end and pull a little bit in, go to here, pull a little bit in. This can be so relaxing. All right, now I'm going to go down to this one with the darker red, do the same thing. I want to encourage you to practice this. The more you practice it, the easier it gets and the more natural it will feel, because it'll be like, oh yeah, that's a white stripe. That's the red stripe. See how I went a little bit over? I'm just going to try and straighten it up a little bit. All right, y'all see that? So what I want to do now is I really need to let that rest until that red dries a little bit. So while it's drying, let me show you on this other piece of wood. Okay, let me see if I can move this without making a big mess. Now, if you wanted to have some stripes on this piece of wood and you wanted them to be a little bit more like this, it would be very similar. So we're going to find the center. So this is 2.5. So I'm going to try and do it a little bit lighter right there. So I would basically decide how wide do I want this. I probably need for the stripes to be about 1/2 inch. So what I would do is I would find my shape, whether it's this or this, whatever it is. I'm going to kind of do it like this because that's similar to our other shape. So if I did it like that, look, there's my line. Watch what is going to happen. All right. So at some point, there's my half mark. So since I started, now I can't see because of, okay, let's see. Oh, I'm doing the wrong. No, I'm right. I'm right. Here we go. So I'm trying to line it up, but also trying not to have my head in your way. Okay, can y'all see that? All right, so let's measure all, and I'm trying not to change the shape of my curve. Let's go ahead and just, now we've got them. All right, so that's about right, I think. About right there. And I'm just eyeballing it to make sure I'm kind of in the same flow of that curve. Do the same. Same. Okay, can y'all see that? All right, so let me go ahead and measure these up. And I'm just doing 1/2 inch. The hardest part, I'm going to do under here so I could, well, let me do it this way because I'm having a hard time seeing without getting my head in your way. I think that's pretty close. You could do this in a journal For those of you in Creative Hearts, we have those journals. This would be great to do in a journal, be a great exercise to do in your art journal. Okay, I think I probably could do one right there. Okay, do y'all see that? All right, so we can do just like we did the other where we're gonna this time I think I'm gonna use my filbert. And how am I doing on time? Okay, I'm doing okay. I get engrossed in it and I don't realize that, you know, it's like, oh my goodness, I've gone over time. I need some, let me show y'all this. I got to get some clean water. If I dip my paintbrush in this to wet it, it's going to discolor my off-white. So I'm fixing to get some water right here just to get it wet. This is a spray bottle. I'll use this a lot with watercolor. So I'm just going to spray that paint. I know you can't see it. See, I just sprayed some on there. All right, so let's do the same process. Is anybody doing this with me? It's okay if you don't have wood. Just try it in your journal, in your paint journal, art journal, or scripture journal. For those of you that do lettering, this is similar to how we kind of did our banners even. All right, so I'm going to pretend like I'm going to start right here. All right, that's my red. I have to talk to myself. Do y'all talk to yourself? It's like, okay. Put one here. So what else could you use this technique on? Have you got some, are you getting some ideas? See what I did right there? I did not get that little mark off. So I'm going to do it right now. Because once you paint over this, it's on there. You can't erase it once you have paint on top of it. All right, so this is red. This is going to be the white. Okay. Do you have plans for this weekend? Do you see what I just did? I had a bunch of that on my brush. So if you accidentally cover your entire stripe with the off-white, you can always come back and add some white highlight. Okay. Y'all good? Okay. Y'all are quiet. Goodness gracious. All right. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to do the red, and I'm going to do it very carefully to try not to make a mess. And so I need the bright red. Thanks, Sandy. It sure is. How did that happen? Thank you for telling me. All right, so for those of you who've been painting a while, you could absolutely take this technique and you could even do more with it. Like you could come back and you could add even more depth. There's so, oh goodness. Did y'all see what I just did? See what it's doing? It's bleeding. All right, let me see if I can do this really carefully. When I was younger, I didn't even measure it out. I would measure the first one, and then I would just go to it. I'll have to see if I can find some of the pictures. I bet some of y'all have painted furniture. Tell me in the comments if you've painted furniture before. I'm curious. Have you ever painted walls? We paint, one time we were given an old cabinet, and it just had it was just old and outdated. So I painted the countertop. It was back whenever faux finishing was so popular. And I made it look marbleized on the top. It was a lot of fun. Okay, see how it's kind of coming together? Now, look how I'm turning my brush. It's okay. Turn it. Keep turning it and flipping, whatever you need to do to make it easy on yourself. So when we were drawing banners for our lettering, you could even do a similar technique with your stripes. On Tuesdays, we do lettering and scripture journaling. And in Creative Hearts, we have lettering and scripture journaling. And I think it was last month we did banners. Okay. I'm going with the wood grain on that part. Okay, can y'all see that okay? All right, so it's so much fun, isn't it, Sandy? Tell me what kind of stuff you've painted. Oh, I bet that would be pretty, Wanda. Black chalk paint. Oh, and distress it. Hey, Joan, I'm glad you're here. I'm doing some stripes and giving y'all some ideas of other ways that you can make stripes. So now I'm going back with the darker red, and this particular wood, I'm noticing that I kind of need to come back with the grain to smooth it out just a smidgen. And don't do it the way I'm doing it where I'm not letting it dry. I'm just trying to do it kind of quickly to give y'all an idea of what you can do. Can you see the depth now coming in to the red? I feel like it could be even darker. I have some, I've got some burnt umber over here. I might add a little bit of that to get it just a little bit darker. But you could come back with some highlights even in your red and give the illusion of, hey, Sherry, I was just talking about you. Okay, see what I just did? I didn't let it dry, and so it started bleeding. But that's okay, because I'm going to grab a paper towel. Oh, wow, Sandy, I bet that was so much fun. I bet they love it too. Okay, so what I told everybody to do is to let the off-white dry before you do your red. I did not do that, and so it started to bleed a little bit. Let me show you something. So this is a little trick. This is shading gray. I'm going to add a little bit of this to my red. I want to see if I can get it just a little bit darker. Oh, well, you know what I'm doing? I'm showing some tips on stripes, Sherry, so don't struggle with it. Remember, this is an old flag. All right, I'm going to turn this so you can see. I added just a little bit of that shading gray so I could get a little bit darker red. And I'm going to, so look at my angle of my brush. I'm going to come right in here and add some depth. A little bit more depth. And I don't need a lot, just a little bit, and it's just going to give the illusion, and that's what painting is, y'all. It's giving, all depending on where you place your color, it helps give the illusion of depth, light. All right, so tell me, do you see a difference now that I added the darker to that? All right, so I'm going to pull in a little bit more of that gray just to get my red a little bit darker. But notice I'm leaving that original color right there in the center, and it's going to give me the illusion that it's rounded. It's fun doing this because once you start getting more comfortable with it, if it's, if you're new to painting, then you can start challenging yourself to, okay, I want to see if I can make this look rounded, or I want to see what else I can do to this. All right, so neither one of these are wrong, but if you wanted more depth, that's how you could easily do it. All of this is preference, kind of like salt and pepper. My husband, Terry, loves pepper. Like, he loves it a lot. And he's going to add pepper to just about everything. I don't like things that are spicy. I had gotten COVID last year, and ever since then, I feel like it's made my mouth more sensitive. So he's peppering stuff up all the time. But that's his personal preference. That's what he enjoys. So think of your painting that way. If you want just subtle depth, then just do the 2 colors of red. If you want more, then you would have 3 colors. You'd have your basic. I just made a 3rd color just by adding some of the shading gray to my red. I added a 3rd color that easily. And this would probably show up better on a larger stripe. But, all right, so once you get this part done and it dries, then if you wanted to, you could come back with polka dots. You could do so many things with this really simple thing. You could do words on the white stripes. And I don't know if we're going to have time to do this or not, but if I can get this dry, then we could even add more depth to our white stripe. Okay, so I'm going to kind of leave that alone and see if that will dry a little bit. Is it hot? Sherry, is this kind of what you want to add? Something like this? That's some additional highlights now on the red. So think about it. If something's waving, the up part of the curve is probably higher and closer to the light, and the bottom part of the curve is probably more dark. What do y'all think about that? Yay, nay? You liked it better the way it was? Like the highlight, yeah. Okay. I want to challenge y'all to play around with the reds. They're fun. They just like to be in control. They like to be dark and not in control, but they kind of are if you get white up next to it. But, oh, y'all know what I'm trying to say, don't you? They're dominant. So it's going to turn your white pink. It'll turn it white. It'll turn your white pink really quick like. All right, so one other thing I can do to this is take a little bit of my brown on my brush, don't need much, and right up under the red, I can add just a little bit, and look what happens. Y'all see that? Now it's looking even more like there's shading. Get a little bit more of that brown, and the brown is super duper thinned out, like super duper thin. And then I want to come back with a little touch of white to add some highlight into the white stripe. Just right in there. And the deeper I can get that area right up under that red, it's just adding to that illusion of depth. Okay. All right, so now I want to get my white that I used at the very beginning to paint I need to add a little bit more of that back. So I'm going to get some white. And I'm going to do this very, very subtle. So I'm just going to take some of the white on my brush and maybe just hit a couple places right there. Maybe a couple places right there. And this is more like a dry brush technique. You see, I didn't even add water to this. I'm just getting it right out of the cap. And one thing, whenever you can add a contrast, you play off of that contrast, is whenever it really starts to pop. And I'm going to hold this up closer so you can see. Okay. So I pulled that in a little bit too much, but it's okay. See how my red was still wet? Once it's dry completely, then I can come back and add a little bit more white to it. But does that help give you some ideas of additional things that you can do with your stripes? No matter what you're working on. Same thing for this one. And I won't go back into all of those details, but I will show you this while I wait for that to dry. Let's just do it right here. So this is the white. See, I could come cross, little cross hatches like that to try and add some of my white back. And just that simple, that's just simple little brush strokes there. It just really perks it up. Maybe that's the word I'm trying to think of. All right, so I'm just going to do a few right there. All right, so now I want to show you with the oh good gracious, the marker. We talked about a marker. Just had them. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to keep my head out of the way. Let's try this one. This is a 1.5. Watch. I'm going to go across like this. That's a technique also, and it gives the illusion of stitches. I'm not doing a solid line. It's just stitching. Okay. Then we could come up here, just say maybe right here, put a little circle like that. Okay. Okay. What do you think? Then one other thing that I like to do even on the white, and we can do that. See how this is the that oyster beige color that gives the illusion of shading. So I'm doing my stitching right in there, like it's been stitched. And you know what you could do is you could do some lettering on here. So let me see if I can pull these back up and let you see it side by side. It's just different variations of it. different ways that you can do stripes. Now, this one has more detail with the darks and the lights. Once it's totally dry, I will come back in here and add even more. But it's so simple either way. Is there a way to get rid of the transfer paper lines that still show up in the beige color? I kind of had to change my lines a bit. I wonder, Sherry, I think you could probably, don't you have some of these Sharpie markers, the white? I don't think they make an off-white. So what you would need to do, think of opaque and translucent. So these colors are kind of somewhat translucent because you can see the wood grain. So because that's bleeding through, you're going to need something that's a little bit stronger. So what you could probably do is similar to what I need to do with this pink. So I'm going to get my white. So I'm going to get some of my white, and I'm going to go over it first with the white to cover it up. And red is pretty stubborn, but I'm sure that those transfer marks probably are too. So I'm going to cover it up first with the white, and I'm going to let that dry. And then if I still see that pink shining through, then I'll do another layer of white, and I'll let that dry, then go over it with a little bit of beige. Does that make sense? So I've got to get a dryer back in here. I don't have a dryer in here to speed this up, but let's pretend like, and this might happen to any of y'all, because it's easy to start painting on it and it's not totally dry, and then you get some red, and then you're constantly having to add more on top and on top and on top. But it's fixable. It really is. And it may not go back to the way you originally had it, but that's okay. All right. So then you would just go over it kind of like that to get your beige back. But that would apply to anybody, because it could be that you're going to end up doing what I did on a few places. And if you do, it's okay. All right. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. I just wanted to show these because they really are fun to paint stripes, and there's so many ways to do it. But these are two simple ways. This is probably the simplest of doing that one stroke of beige, having two shades of red. Let's just do a recap. This one is the two shades of red. We put the bright red down first, then added the dark red at each little, at the top and the bottom. I actually said that wrong, because really we put the white down first. We base coated it white. Then I laid out the stripes. I added shading to the white stripe with the oyster beige. That's what that is. Then we did the red, the bright red, then added the dark red. And once that dried, then you can come back with that marker and you can add some line work there. If you have the Sharpie Creative markers, these white, all of the colors, I think that aren't these paint? What do they call these? Anyway, they're very opaque, so they will cover up mistakes. They're really good markers. I highly recommend them. Like, I could even add more highlights here. Like if I got crazy with my beige and I didn't leave any white, I could come back. Isn't that cool that you can do that? And this is a marker. I kind of like these better than the Poscas, y'all. All right, and I can do the same over here. Like if I want this a little bit whiter, do that. All right, so we've done a good bit of patriotic stuff this month in June. We've had this project, and then we've also painted the summer window, and we did the fabric flag over there. So we've had a lot of fun with that, and we're going to continue to do things with this. And then for July, we're going to the ocean. We're going to paint the ocean in July. So in Creative Hearts, if you're wanting to learn more, I want to encourage y'all to join us in July and learn to paint water. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, y'all let me know. I'll check back for the comments. And thank y'all for being here. I really do appreciate it. All right. I'll see y'all tonight at 7 p.m. for the Welcome Home Workshop. We'll draw another winner. We're going to paint our watercolor florals and finish our flag. I'm looking forward to it too, Sherry. Lots of fun stuff coming. A lot of fun stuff. All right. See y'all later. Have a good day and a wonderful weekend.